Okay, we're back in session for the May 13th Glendale City Council and Glendale Housing Authority meeting. May we have roll call, please?
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Darian.
Here.
Quintero. Weaver.
Here.
Mayor Sinanian.
May we have the report? Oh, here.
For the Housing Authority, please.
Authority members: Friedman.
Here.
Vinci.
Here.
Razian.
Here.
Quintero. Weaver.
Here.
Sinanian.
Here.
Chair Najarian.
Here.
Okay, now may we have the report now?
The agenda for the May 13, 2014 joint public meeting of the City Council and the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, May 8, 2014 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Before you is Director of Community Services and Parks regarding fiscal year 2014-15 proposed annual action plan for Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG, and Home Investment Partnership Act home programs. A is a council resolution certifying and adopting certain negative declarations has been prepared pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act. B is a council motion approving the annual action plan and authorizing submission to the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Okay, what's next? Yes, oh.
Mr. Mayor, Sinanian, members of the City Council, Chairman Najarian, members of the Housing Authority. This is the time of year where we are before you again at the completion of the program planning process for the Community Development Block Grant program. The annual plan that we must submit to HUD for receipt of funds also includes the Emergency Solutions Grant program and the Home Program funds, but for planning purposes, we always focus on the Community Development Block Grant CDBG program. You are not surprised. We do continue to experience a reduction in formula entitlement funding. This year we experienced a 10% reduction from HUD. We can take some solace in the fact that this year, unlike last year, our neighbors in Pasadena and Burbank also received reductions. So between the formula entitlement amount of $1,627,938,000 and small amount of funds available for reprogramming and program income, the total amount of funds available for fiscal year 14-15 is $1,746,630. As part of this plan development process, we were before you in November, at which time you approved the funding priorities, a general preliminary funding allocation plan by funding category, and authorized the issuance of a request for proposal. As a result of the request for proposal, there were 19 funding proposals received, which was 3 less than last year, which helped out some, being that we had less money to dole out. Of the 19 proposals received, 14 were for social services and 5 were for capital improvement projects. Of the social service proposals, 11 were recommended for funding, including 9 community projects and 2 city programs. Also, Exhibit 1 is a summary list of the current funding for each program, the amount that was requested, and the amount that's being recommended by the CDBG Advisory Committee. And speaking of the committee, under the strong leadership of Efrain Olivares, the chair, and Ramela Markarian, the vice chair, the committee operated very efficiently and very effectively. The other members of the committee are Zanku Armenian, Vache Tachdian, and Lila Ramirez, and they were all very analytical and insightful in their evaluation and deliberations of the funding proposals. The committee did study each funding proposal. They made site visits leading up to the proposal evaluation process. They analyzed year-end and half-year performance reports submitted by each organization. They received a financial analysis that was conducted by our internal audit unit, and they conducted 1.5 days worth of interviews with the organizations that submitted funding applications, and they deliberated and developed their funding recommendations. All of the organizations being recommended for funding are existing CDBG recipients. As such, they are all proven to be effective and very experienced with the use of HUD CDBG funds and with the capacity to deliver services and comply with the federal eligibility, and reporting requirements of the federal funding. On average, each program that was funded absorbed a 4% reduction in funding from the previous year. The highest reduction was an 8% cut, and the lowest was a 2% cut. The smallest grant was a $9,000 grant, and the largest grant was a $52,500 grant. And I think it is safe to say that based on the feedback that we have received, that most of the organizations appreciate the hard work that the committee puts out in studying, evaluating, and weighing each proposal, and the challenge of fewer dollars to go around. And under the circumstances and in the totality of what we had to work with, are satisfied with the process and with the proposed funding amounts for their projects. Again, what you have is a pretty basic, streamlined CDBG annual plan that we are proposing, and I or Mr. Carrillo are happy to answer any questions that you might have. We also have in the audience the chair of the committee, Fernando Olivares, and Mr. Zanku Armenian, if you have any questions of the committee members.
Thank you, Mr. Duran. Would the chairman or vice chair would like to say a few words?
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, and staff. Really simply, all I want to say is, and Mr. Mayor, you had the privilege of being a chair of our committee a few years ago, so you understand what we go through. All I can say is we have a very good committee. At the end of the day, the proposals in front of all of you are unanimous. As you know, we deliberate quite a bit before putting this in front of you, so we look for your support in our decision-making and our recommendations to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Olivares. Okay, yes, Ms. Friedman?
Well, I want to thank the Commission for their hard work. I know that it's very difficult when you have almost twice as many requests for funding than we have the funds available to give out. So I thank them for all of their time and their efforts. I also want to thank the nonprofits who came in for their patience and their understanding. Everybody, I know, wants more funding, and every single group deserves it. I mean, you have a lot of people, a lot of volunteers, a lot of wonderful groups out there doing great work. And the CDBG money has been dwindling over the years. This is something the federal government has not wanted to support fully. They've been cutting that money every year, which is a shame. But I want to thank all of the groups who participated for coming in and applying. And, I know that the money that's going to be spent is going to be very well spent in the community.
Thank you, Ms. Friedman. Okay, no other comments. I have some comments. Again, I've had the privilege to serve on CDBG for a number of years, and I want to thank the Commission this year for putting in all the work that they did in reviewing the packets, the individual applications, and going through a thoughtful and methodical process and determining who's going to be recipients of CDBG funding. It's so important that the ever-dwindling funds provided to us by HUD are distributed to the most worthy entities that provide the most needed services to the residents of the city. I know that a few years ago we came this close to the Republican Congress actually eliminating the CDBG program. Thankfully, that hasn't happened, and we're still able to indirectly do so much good through all those entities that provide that good directly to the residents, those that are in most need in our city. Jess Duran, thank you for running this program and doing it so well. Moises Carrillo, thank you too, and everyone else on your staff. You guys always do a fantastic job. It seems like there's not much discussion left on this issue. If someone will move the item.
I'll move 1A and B.
Second.
Can we have roll call, please?
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Darian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. What's next?
Move to
Motion
adjourn
to
for
adjourn.
council?
Second. Move to adjourn for housing. Second.
And we're adjourned.